everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody. Glad you guys are back for another video. Week 18 Saturday preview is upon us. 6 games to talk about, multiple playoff implications for many games, if not all of them. So let's dive into all of them. All right, let's start this off with one of the earlier kickoffs. We have a couple of 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoffs, so adjust your clocks accordingly. That's where I'm at here in Kansas. But we'll start off with this one, 6:05 p.m. Central Time on the Indoor Football League Network, or if it's streaming for free somewhere else. The 9-5 Arizona Rattlers taking on the 4-10 San Antonio Gunslingers. Arizona has clinched a playoff spot. San Antonio has been eliminated. However, there are still playoff implications on the line. Arizona can clinch at least the number 2 seed, possibly vie for that number 1 spot if they win this game. And then they need losses by San Diego and by Vegas, which we'll talk about those games obviously in their own respective previews. But for this, Arizona needs to start it off with a win, and they have to play San Antonio, so that's why we talk about it. Let's take a look at our season leaders here. Dalton Snead, 207 of 359, 2,225 passing yards, 40 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Joaquin Collazo, 151 of 265, 1,693 yards, 33 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Ron Brown Jr., 108 carries, 522 yards, and 20 rushing touchdowns. Leading rusher for the Gunslingers, Keyshawn Harper, 97 carries, 322 yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. Over to the receiving leaders, Jamal Miles is the leading receiver. He isn't technically, but I'll talk about that in a minute. 41 catches, 322 yards, and 5 receiving touchdowns. And Nyquan Murray, 58 catches, 794 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Very good season for Nyquan Murray, given all the circumstances through the Gunslinger season. Taking a look at our injury report, a couple of players to report for both sides, Mikel Calhoun and Isaiah Houston. Arizona's going into this one and the final week of the season without Isaiah Houston. He's got to be on short-term injury reserve for 2 weeks. And Mikel Calhoun, same thing with him too. So a couple of injuries dealt to Arizona. I wouldn't say at the wrong time, but they could be back for the playoffs. For San Antonio, Jalen Williams, defensive lineman, has been added. That's 3 defensive linemen, couple defensive backs that you see there when it comes to their injury report. So more reinforcements on that defensive line are needed. Game odds, we have an over-under of 85.5, with San Antonio being the underdog at home by 8.5. So plus 8.5 for San Antonio, minus 8.5, Arizona favored on the road. Minus 278 for the Gunslingers, minus 278 for Arizona as the road favorite, and the home underdog plus 225 for the Gunslingers if you want to pick another upset for the second straight week if you think San Antonio can do it again. We are in the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas, and our series head-to-head favors the Rattlers 2-0. They won all the way back in week 4. It's been a long time since these two teams have met. Just 2 completely different teams at this point. Week 4, 2025, Arizona taking the victory 63-55. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, our bet and prediction. We got 5 more to go. All right. 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the away side first. For Arizona, Drew Powell and Dalton Snead are your quarterbacks, Snead being the starter like he has all season, Powell being the backup. Shannon Brooks is off a short-term injured reserve to help out Ron Brown Jr. We'll see if Brooks gets the start or if they keep riding Ron Brown based on chemistry and stuff. My bet, Shannon Brooks gets the start here. Wide receivers, Jamal Miles, Johannes Tyler, Corey Reed, Trey Dixon, and Austin Johnson. Offensive line, Bryson Mays, Christopher Strader, Lamar Mady, and Anthony Barber. I think he's a former Northern Arizona Wrangler. He might have been with another team or two if I'm not mistaken, but he does have some indoor football experience. Defensively, Kevin Sims, Rashawn Yates, Isaiah Coe, James Nimwaya on the line. Linebacker is Jalen Campbell, and in the secondary, Jermaine Dobbs, Devontae Merriweather, Isaiah Huff, Otjo So, Amari Alexander, and Ethan Castleberry, with your kicker being Dawson Evans. Over to San Antonio, Joaquin Collazo is your starting quarterback, and familiar face, former gunslinger Amon Caldwell is your backup. He is signed this week. He was vying for the starting job at the start of the season until Malik Henry got the job, and then you see how the season has gone. Anyway, Keyshawn Harper, your running back, and wide receivers Glenn Gibbons, Callie Rashad, Austin Upshaw, Naquan Murray, and Logan Collier off of short-term injured reserve, and Carl Reynolds rounding it out. Offensive line, McQuail Harvey, Matthew Burrell, Quan Stallworth, Joel Galvin, and LaColby Tucker. And on the defensive side, Austin Collier, Warren Thomas, Justin Sykes. That's kind of a thin defensive line right there. Linebacker is Brian Horn. And in the secondary, Riverius Rivers, Lakeith Murray, Christoph Page, Kyle Myers, Mike Miller, and Tycorian Brown, with your kicker being Tyler Huddle. And that's your 25-man roster for your Arizona Rattlers, 25-man roster for your San Antonio Gunslingers. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction before we keep moving on to the other ones. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. -8.5 for Arizona. I just think that the Rattlers have it. That's not to say the high of the high of pulling the upset for San Antonio. They get to come back home. They have an opportunity to play spoiler again. But Arizona, again, this is the perfect Kevin Guy Devil magic time. I talked about it last week. We're moving right back into it. A chance for them to finish the season at 11-5. They get this game. They get to play San Diego. There's an opportunity for them to get a home playoff game, which they do a lot better this season at home than they have on the road. Now, with that being said, they're on the road. So can San Antonio pull an upset in back-to-back weeks? That remains to be seen. But I just think Arizona has something here. I do. That's not to say San Antonio can't throw the ball around. That doesn't mean that their offense can't do what they did and the defense can, stop them. But Jacksonville is not Arizona. Now, granted, that's kind of how it's gone. But I'm not trying to, throw strays at Jacksonville or anything like that. But point being, though, is Arizona is just kind of a different beast. This could be something where it could be a comeback. It could be something where Arizona just kind of blows them out. But I don't know. I think this one could be a little bit back and forth until Arizona kind of just wears them down. I think that's how it's going to be. Could be close in the first half, wondering if the spread is going to be covered by Arizona, and then eventually maybe a couple lucky breaks, maybe a turnover or two, and Arizona just kind of pulls away at the end. Just kind of how I see it. My prediction for this one, 49-38 in favor of the Rattlers. That's not to say that San Antonio can't put up a fight. I said it last week, I'll say it again. If San Antonio wants to win this game, I do think that they need to play another A-plus game. I just do not think they have back-to-back weeks of A-plus games. And maybe it wasn't even an A-plus game. Maybe they just need to bring an A game, but they need to hope Arizona doesn't bring theirs. And I don't know. I'm not sure. San Antonio does have the opportunity here. I'm just kind of worried about that defensive line. Very thin. I know you only play 8 guys, you only suit up 21, so I get it, but only having 3 defensive linemen, you have Shannon Brooks and Ron Brown on the other side. If they suit up both wide running backs, they could be just going right at that line the entire time, and then you wonder if that linebacker can keep up with that, and then you also have to factor in Dalton Snead running if he has to. So there's that. You do have the wide receivers and their motion jet sweeps and things along those lines. The secondary for Arizona can maybe corral San Antonio's wide receivers. We know they're going to throw it more than they run it, although they did run it really well with Keyshawn Harper, so I am curious to see if they include the running game a little bit more and if Arizona is able to shut that down or how balanced San Antonio will be. So that's kind of how I have it here, -8.5 for Arizona and 49-38 in favor of the Rattlers. We'll just kind of see, but like I said, I think they just kind of pull away there at the end. But with that, let's go take a look at our second preview. All right, preview number 2. We have another 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. We have the 9-5 San Diego Strike Force taking on the 5-9 Fishers Freight. Now, again, this is kind of like the Arizona San Antonio issue. San Diego's already clinched a playoff spot. They can't really, they can kind of move up and down in the seedings, but it depends on how the game goes, obviously. If they win this game and Arizona loses, they move right back up to that 2 seed, or just kind of how it plays out. Fishers, they're eliminated from playoff spot, but they can play spoiler in this one. There is an opportunity if they win out their final 2 games to finish 7-9, and that's a really, really good first season for the Freight, considering they started out 2-0. They lost a whole bunch of games. Now they've won a couple. So We'll see how it goes. But let's take a look at our season leaders. Nate Davis for San Diego, 190 of 299, 2,109 yards, 34 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Felix Harper for the Freight, 15 of 25, 161 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Edward Vander, 109 carries, 371 yards, 17 touchdowns. And Dominic Roberto, 47 carries, 188 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Dallas Daniels for the Strike Force, 43 catches, 484 yards, and 12 touchdowns. And JT Stokes, 37 catches, 418 yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. To our injury report, quite a bit of injuries for San Diego. Not very good. I mean, that's... Yeah, Trayvon Van moved over to season injured reserve. He was on short term. Now he's moved over to the season. Jalen Sample, wide receiver, season injured reserve. Draco Statham, season injured reserve. And then Atoa Fox and Edward Vander. So 2 running backs, they're out. And then quite a bit of defensive backs. Jericho Flowers has been out there for a while. Draco Statham and Atoa Fox now added as of just a few days ago. For Fishers, just 1 player added, Julian Walker, but I do not think he played in the last game or maybe the last couple of games, so it's kind of been a sight coming when you kind of look at it in hindsight. Game odds, 84.5 is our over and under, and then plus 6.5 for Fishers. They are the home underdog. Minus 6.5 for San Diego as the road favorite. Minus 218 straight up if you want San Diego just to win, and then plus 180 for Fishers if you want the home upset. We are in the Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana, and our series head-to-head has never happened. It's still 0-0. This is the first meeting between the two teams, and I think this is the final first meeting for Fishers this year, because I think their final week they play Iowa. So the final first meeting, they still have a couple of other teams that they have not played this season, so we'll see how that goes in the upcoming years and everything, but final first meeting between San Diego and Fishers in this one. So let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction. Plenty more previews to go. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face. We're going to take a look at the away side first, as we always do. Rudy Johnson and Nate Davis are your quarterbacks, but there is no running back listed, so I fully expect Rudy Johnson to be your running back, jack-of-all-trades style player. They have added a wide receiver, though. Dallas Daniels, John Maldonado, Javian Lofton-Wilson, Shane Hooks, and Arthur Jackson III has been re-signed. Have another go at it. They've clinched a playoff spot. I'm amazed it took them this long to re-sign, but hey, more power to you, man. Go get them. Offensive line, Christian Olmstead, Jalen Booth, Josh Castro, Jake Sines, and Blaine Hoover has been signed just a couple days ago. Defense includes Wallace Cowens, Guy Thomas. I think he wore number 21 last week. There was no nameplate, but I'm pretty sure that was Guy Thomas, so we'll see if his number has changed or not. I still have him as 13. Afanya Maye, Jalen Joyner, Karat Garland, and Jackson Cravens on that defensive line. Linebacker is Royce C., and then in the secondary, Devin Hafford, Tariq Lewis, Elijah Reed, and then new signees, Matt Elam and Keyshawn Walker. So some experience from Massachusetts, some experience from San Diego, just a hodgepodge in that secondary. Kicker is Ernesto Lacayo. Over to the Fishers side of things, Felix Harper's your quarterback. They don't have backup. Running backs include Dominic Roberto and Josiah King. A little 1-2 punch right there. And then wide receivers, JT Stokes, Isaiah Coulter, Isaiah Cox, Journey Sloan. Offensive line, AJ Forbes, LaQuinston Sharp, Daryl Simmons, Jatarius Spivey, Jeremy Cooper, and Darius Long. And again, kind of the same thing here. Darius Long will probably switch over to the defensive line, kind of help out in that regard. Defensively, Christopher Oakley, Jalen Swan, and Akeem Smith on that line. Linebackers include Cam Hunt and Tamar Hart, and in the secondary, Sean Steele, Aaron Jackson, Jaden Rowe, new signee Marcus Gray, Justin Terry, and Justice King, with your kicker being Callum Sutherland. It's your 25-man roster for San Diego, 25-man roster for your Fishers Freight. Let's go check out that bet and prediction. We just keep moving along. All right, bet and prediction time. Plus 180. Why not? Why not? I fully expect San Diego to probably win this game, but there's just something that tells me the Fishers might pull the upset. I think this is their final game at home. Let me check this out, because they got another home game. Okay, so it's not their final game at home, but their penultimate game at home. There you go. But yeah, their penultimate game at home. I'm just going to take them. Why not? plus 180. They did, beat Iowa. I know San Diego kind of, let Arizona come back and win that one. I'm not basing it off of, one team won last week, one team lost. That's not what I'm doing. But I think having just a little bit more momentum, having a couple of wins under your belt, Felix Harper starting to get into the groove. It might be a little too late when it comes to the playoffs, but just building this chemistry, whoever you resign for next season, and again, you still have to finish this season, but what you have already kind of built and the players that you have brought in time and again, the roster turnover and stuff like that, I think is boding well for Fishers coming up into year 2. I'm not trying to look ahead, but I think that could bode well for this game. I do think Felix Harper being able to connect to Isaiah Coulter, being able to connect to JT Stokes, the running game that they have with King, the running game that they have with Roberto and Harper running as well, I really like that. And there's a little bit of a secondary mishmash. I know, San Diego, there's talent there. There's a lot of experience there, but I wonder what schemes or anything, and I know Rod Miller came from Massachusetts, so it's not like Matt Elam is losing a step or anything along those lines. It's still his scheme. It's still San Diego. I get it. But there's just something here where is that San Diego secondary going to be tested, or how much are they going to run to throw for Fishers? On the other side, we know San Diego is going to throw it more than they run it, especially now that they don't really have a true running back except for Rudy Johnson, which we'll see how that impacts the Wildcat formations on the goal-to-go situations and things along those lines. But with that, there's just something in my gut that tells me to pick Fishers, even though I think San Diego can probably win this game. I do. San Diego has that chance to get a home playoff game. They have a chance to secure a 2 seed, or maybe not better, but they have an opportunity to really cement themselves here. They need Arizona to lose. They need to win. There's a lot of playoff implications between those two teams and the rest of the West as well. So I do think San Diego can come out guns a-blazing, but again, you got nothing to lose if you're Fishers. I got nothing to lose here, so plus 180. My prediction for this one, 42-38. I do think it is close, but again, I think Fishers just makes one more play than San Diego. I don't know if it's a turnover. I don't know if it's just a bomb touchdown, deep touchdown pass. I have no idea, but I think there's just one turning play that Fishers can convert, and that's just kind of it's kind of like a repeat for San Diego from last week. There's just something that maybe San Diego's leading, Fishers is able to just kind of make that comeback, and that's how you have it. Maybe it happens 2 weeks in a row for San Diego. I don't necessarily see it, but maybe I'm talking myself into it. But that's where I have it, 42-38, plus 180 for our bet. Fishers pulls the upset at home. Let's go take a look at our third preview. All right, preview number 3. We're moving in an hour later, so adjust those clocks or not, because this is not daylight savings. But anyway, we have a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network, or wherever it's streaming, I guess. The 10-4 Quad City Steamwheelers hitting the road to Des Moines to take on the 1-13 Iowa Barnstormers. Rivalry renewed once again, the I-80 rivalry, and that drive is boring, I'll tell you that much. That drive is boring. Going to go see family in the Quad Cities, a lot of wind farm, I'll tell you that much. But rivalry renewed. One team can play spoiler. One team can inch closer to the number 1 overall seed in the Eastern Conference. We'll just kind of see how it goes. Plenty of playoff implications for Quad City in this one as well. Season leaders, DeQuan Neal, 123 of 211, 1,585 yards, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. James Cahoon, 218 of 388, 2,352 yards, 46 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. DeQuan Neal, your leading rusher, 99 carries, 479 rushing yards, and 14 touchdowns. And James Cahoon, 30 carries, 93 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Jordan Vesey is your leading receiver, 31 catches, 488 yards, and 13 touchdowns. And Kean Williams, well on his way to first-team All-Indoor Football League, I'll tell you that much. 81 catches, 1,050 yards, and 21 receiving touchdowns. I believe he is the first receiver as of right now to break 1,000 yards receiving, and there's still this game and another one to go, so we'll see how many more yards he can get. Injury report. For Quad City, a new addition. I wouldn't say finally, because you don't want to say that, but they actually have another addition, Bubba Arslanian. He did get hurt last week. He's put on short-term injured reserve. He's out this week. He's out next week. Let's see if we can get him back for the playoffs. For Iowa, nothing new to report. McLean was on there last week. No new additions when it comes to the Barnstormers. Over to the game odds, over under of 91.5. Iowa plus 14.5. Big underdog at home, minus 14.5. So over 2 touchdowns for Quad City. Minus 550 for the Steamwheelers on the road, and plus 410 if you want Iowa with a big upset. This could be, I don't know if it's not the biggest spread or anything like that, but if the upset is pulled, it could be probably one of the biggest ones in the season. So we are at the KC Center. I did remember to rechange that name. So the KC Center instead of Wells Fargo Arena, the KC Center in Des Moines, Iowa. Series head-to-head 8-5 in favor of the Steamwheelers. These guys have taken a long time to re-meet. It is week 4 of 2025. Quad City takes the victory 53-35. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction for this one, and we're halfway through. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the away side first, as we do. Daquan Neal and Seth Morgan are your quarterbacks, Neal getting the start, Morgan being your backup. Running back, Jared Ware. And the wide receivers, Daquan Dudley, Tamarian Terry, Deion McShane, Kevon Rudd, and Jordan Vesey. Offensive line includes Joe Crowell, Javion Caldwell, Ivory Scott, and Tyrone Chambers. On the defensive line, Kadir Shepard, which I saw a YouTube comment on my page that said that he's out for the season. We'll see if that's true or not, but he's still listed here until further said. So, David Cagle, Keyshawn Moore, Chema Dunga, and new signee, former Defensive Player of the Year, Jaquan Artis. He's been around the Indoor Football League. He's been in the UFL or XFL or USFL or whatever, so he has played at upper levels. Welcome to the team. Linebacker is going to be Brian Lee, and in the secondary, Trey Smith, CJ Parrish, Chris Chukwuneke, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, and Cameron Harrell. Kicker is Kyle Kaplan. And on to the Iowa side of things, Grant Rohach, Dylan Van Boxel are going to be your quarterbacks, well, backup quarterbacks. James Cahoon will be your starter, but Van Boxel got the backup duty there. We'll see if they switch or whatever that case could be. Wide receivers, Kean Williams, Jalen Bracey, Caleb Hood, DeMonte Martin, and Raheem Harvey. And on the offensive line for Iowa, Devin Hayes, Tyler Castaneda, Jordan Taylor, and Paul Fay. Defensively, Patrick Godbolt, Joshua Ellison, Tyler Tate, and Jared Johnson. Linebackers include Kadri Jackson, Ja'Cory Johns, and Jalen Johnson. And in the secondary, Ja'Cory Benjamin, Angelo Gross, Caleb Street, Jared Sod, and Cam Mitchell-Johnson, with your kicker being Gabriel Rui. And there's your 25-man roster for Quad City, your 25-man roster for Iowa. And let's go take a look at our bet, our prediction, and we're halfway through with our previews. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. Points over 91.5. Why not? We got one team that wants to play spoiler and throw the ball around. We have another team that is dealing with injuries, and they're trying to put up points and try and make a case for the number 1 overall seed. Playoff implications in this one: Quad City gets the victory, they clinch a home playoff berth at least. If they get the victory and then have losses by Green Bay and Jacksonville, they clinch the number 1 overall seed. So you're really hoping for stuff to kind of break your way if you're a Quad City fan. See how it goes. But for Iowa, you got to finish the season strong here. Can you throw it on this defense that has been kind of injured, all things considered? We'll see. I do think Iowa can put up points, and anytime they do put up quite a few points, the other team puts up just as much, if not more, and we hit the over. Case in point, Fishers last week. So I kind of expect more of the same when it comes to that. If Daquan Neal and company can get it going, when I say we, I'm saying it as for the team, because I'm not part of the team, and I don't gatekeep people when they say that. But anyway, for Quad City, the wide receivers, Tamarian Terry has stepped up. Jordan Vesey has been kind of a roller coaster. Being the leading receiver is one thing, but would you say he's a wide receiver 1? I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know if there's been a true wide receiver that has shown up for Quad City this year. Not like a Kean Williams, dare I say. And, VC might be that at times, but Tamarian Terry has kind of taken that mantle a little bit. You need the wide receivers to step up. You need Jared Ware to step up. If this offense wants to compete in the playoffs, you need that offense to go. And hopefully they can show it a little bit here. On the Iowa side, again, Kean Williams, he will run the ball, he will receive the ball, he will do kick returns. Like, he is the man that does it all for that team. Easier said than done, I get it, but if you can corral him, you're probably going to win this one. My prediction for this one, 52-42, and even if you don't corral Kean Williams, I mean, if he's the only one getting the yards and the touches, no one else stepping up here. And Caleb Hood has been stepping up. Shout out to him. He has been playing really well as of late. Same with Raheem Harvey. Like, it's not like the offense and the defense have been super terrible. I mean, they haven't been the best, especially the defense, but the offense has been really good, all things considered. Raheem Harvey, Caleb Hood, Kean Williams, James Cahoon has even, looked really, really good passing the ball. But that defense is the one giving up the points here. And if Quad City's offense can look good and get that ball out to those wide receivers, run the ball with Neal, run the ball with Ware, I mean, do some jet sweeps, some motion sweeps, whatever the case could be in for something. So I do think there's some points. If Iowa can get the ball going, we know that Quad City can probably get the ball going too. Can Iowa pick on that secondary? Cam Harrell might be picking off some passes, and when it comes to that, I mean, he's been pretty good this year when it comes to that. Over 91.5, 52-42, Quad City takes the victory. Let's go take a look at our fourth preview. All right, preview number 4. This might be game of the week in terms of playoffs, and whoever wins, I mean, it's not, they both control their destiny in a sense. So we won't stall it anymore. 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network, or if it's streaming for free, you can probably check it out there. Jacksonville Sharks 9-5, Tulsa Oilers 8-6. We are in Tulsa for this one. This is their first meeting. We'll talk about that in a second. The first meeting this year and their only meeting this year. But yeah, playoff implications aplenty in this one. If one team wins, the other team loses. I mean, Jacksonville can clinch with a win. Tulsa needs a little bit of help, but yeah, this should be some fireworks. Let's take a look at our season leaders. Tyler Huff, 72 of 101, 694 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks. Sam Castronova, 11 of 25, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Leading rushers, Tyler Huff, 96 carries, 559 yards, 18 touchdowns. And, well, I have Hassan Rogers here, but you see him down there at the injury report, so that's the one I forgot to do. But, well, he was your leading rusher, and I honestly couldn't tell you who it is now. After TJ Edwards has gone down and Hassan Rogers has gone down, I would honestly think it's got to be someone like Sheldon Augustine or someone like that. Receiving leaders, Jaden Stoshak, 40 catches, 536 yards, and 15 touchdowns. And Sheldon Augustine, 36 catches, 325 yards, and 10 receiving touchdowns. Taking a look at our injury report, nothing to report for Jacksonville. I don't think there's been any changes from them for like the last week or two, minus like Brandon Munoz coming off like short-term injured reserve. For Tulsa, quite a few players. Downgraded, season injured reserve is TJ Edwards, which we all kind of knew. But then added to the injury report, Hassan Rogers, Ross Moore, Cole Blackman. That's a lot of hits to your kind of offense right there. A lot of firepower with Rogers and Blackman hitting the injured reserve. Let's take a look at our game odds. We have an over-under of 79.5, so Vegas not expecting too many points in this one. Still some points, but not a lot. And then minus 4.5, Jacksonville favored on the road, plus 4.5 for Tulsa at home. Minus 166 if you want Jacksonville straight up, and plus 140 for Tulsa at home. We are in the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and our series head-to-head 2-0 in favor of the Sharks. Jacksonville getting the last victory week 13 of last year. This is their first and only meeting of this season. Jacksonville 45-42. So again, this one has some really big playoff implications when it comes to if Tulsa gets this victory, they own the head-to-head tiebreaker if they both finish with the same record, which would then be 9-7 or 10-6, depending on how each record breaks or things along those lines. So with that, I mean, that's big in itself. Jacksonville, if they get the victory, 10-6, Tulsa can't match that. So there you have it. Let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction. We move on. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the Jacksonville side first. Tyler Huff and Blaine Espinoza are your quarterbacks, Huff being the starter, Espinoza being your backup. Running backs Larry McCammon, DeMontre Tuggle, and Vance Bennett, which Bennett doesn't have a number, so probably won't suit up. Wide receivers include Karan Ashley, Jaden Stoshak, Marcus Rogers, and Khalil McLean. Kind of the same thing. Now, caveat to this, I do have to say this. I have not checked Jacksonville's roster in the last day or two, so there could be some discrepancies to this one. I'm just kind of basing it off of the transactions page on the Indoor Football website. Offensive line for the Sharks, Bryson Broadway, Leon Brown, Dominic Jackson, and Kenny Furman. And on the defensive side, Brandon Munoz, Kevon Bennett, Giamonte Peck, with your linebacker being Hayden Hatcher. Secondary includes Jay Davis, Tyrese Ross, Richie Coffey, John Huggins, Malik Jones, and Lacaria Pleasant Johnson, with your kicker being Dylan Barnes. Over to the Tulsa side of things, Sam Castronova and Carl Robinson are your quarterbacks, Castronova being the starter, backup being Robinson. Running back Jawan Johnson, which I had to look this up. I think he went to Midwestern State. It could be a different college, but you know, the Jawan Johnson I know plays for the New Orleans Saints, and you can't find anything else from like a D2 school or NAIA school, so I hope that's correct. If he didn't go to Midwestern State, correct me on that one, please. Max Novak, Jerminic Smith, Sheldon Augustine, and Isaiah Scott for your wide receivers. New signee Isaiah Scott. He's been around. I think he was with the Arizona Rattlers at one point. I think he's been in the AF1 or AFL. He's been around. He has some experience. Offensive line, Kadar Counta, excuse me. Zach Branner, don't clip that. Bryant Nolan Jr., Kerry Reynolds, and Anthony Kennedy. Defense includes Ulrich Jones, Jacarius Smith, Trey Smalls, and Rashawn Williams on the defensive line. Linebackers Dylan Petway, Trey Harvey, and Marquez Bembry. And in the secondary, Taylor Hawkins, Sedarius Doss, Kenshall Pierce, Caleb Lee Collins, and Roderick Jarrett. We'll see if Trey Harvey drops back into the secondary. Dylan Petway was your starting linebacker last week, so we'll see if it's more of the same, or if they move Trey Harvey back up to the linebacker spot. We'll just kind of see it. Your kicker is Jonah Edwards. That's your 25-man roster for Jacksonville, 25-man roster for Tulsa. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction. Got 2 more previews after this. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. Minus 166 for Jacksonville. I don't know how they get it done, but somehow, some way they do. I think also another thing that leads me towards this, at least, is the continuity. I know we have another week of practice for Castronova and company to kind of mesh and gel and get all that stuff together, but Cole Blackman getting hurt, Hassan Rogers getting hurt, I know it's not end-all be-all, but just the roster turnover in the last couple of weeks, it just kind of leaves Tulsa scrambling. It took them double overtime to beat Massachusetts in a very low-scoring game. We know Jacksonville will probably run the ball. They're looking to get back at it after getting upset by San Antonio. They're probably pissed, and I don't blame them for that. They did not bring their A game. They did not play well against San Antonio, and it showed. So I look for them to get on the bus or get on the plane, come out to Tulsa, and prove that they are worthy of a playoff spot. Tulsa, kind of the same thing. It took them double overtime. Can they ride that wave of momentum, that confidence? You're back at home for the second straight week. Can you go back-to-back, secure a playoff berth? I don't know what's going on in Massachusetts and Green Bay. It's going on as I record this, so I'm not trying to do any spoilers or anything. So it could be Green Bay winning right now. It could be Mass pulling the upset. We don't know. Or at least I don't know right now, so we'll find out later. And I'm not going to edit this. Maybe, oh, Mass won or Green Bay won. I trying to, sake of secrecy, I guess. Anyway, Jacksonville has the opportunity here to clinch a playoff berth, and all it takes for them is just to win. Or if Massachusetts has already lost from last night, then they've already clinched. But again, not trying to ruin it or spoil or do anything like that. For Tulsa, they have to win against Jacksonville, and Massachusetts needs to lose. So again, if Massachusetts is losing right now, there we have it. But I think Jacksonville wants to control their destiny regardless. Even if Massachusetts loses or Green Bay loses, whatever the case could be, I still think Jacksonville is going to come out here. And even if, and again, I know I'm harping on this, but even if Massachusetts loses, you don't think Jacksonville says, all right, they've lost, we've clinched a playoff spot, now we need to get over Green Bay, now we need to vie for that number 1 seed, now we need to get after it. Like, there's extra motivation there. It's not just because they just clinched a playoff spot. So I do think Tyler Huff and company can get it going. We'll see, the running game with that. If Huff can get his legs back up underneath him, if DeMontre Tuggle can continue his game, if Larry McCammon can continue, and then they're going to throw it deep to Stoshak. They're going to throw it deep to Marcus Rogers. They're going to dink and dunk you, and that defense will try and look to take the ball away. Huggins, Coffey, Malik Jones, that's who I was thinking of. Jay Davis, Tyrese Ross. I mean, that entire secondary is always good. If that defensive line can get after Sam Castronova, we'll just kind of see how it goes. Castronova has another week to build that chemistry. They do bring in the new wide receiver with what is his name? Not Isaiah Houston. That's what's on my brain. Isaiah Scott. Oh my God, I keep thinking Isaiah Houston, but Isaiah Scott. Yeah, if they can do that, build the chemistry with Max Novak, Germanic Smith, Sheldon Augustine. I mean, Augustine looked really good in the game against Massachusetts. And then if that defense can get after Tyler Huff, shut down that run, try and make him one-dimensional, that's kind of where we're at with this one. But somehow, some way, my prediction for this one, 45-41. I do think Jacksonville does get it done. I know I should have probably said the prediction a lot earlier, but here we're at. So, minus 166, 45-41. I do think Jacksonville does take this. And somehow, some way. I don't know. Some Kevin Guy devil magic, but move it over to Jacksonville, I guess. But that's where we have it. I do think Jacksonville has the ability here. They just make one more play. I know I said it for Fishers and San Diego, but I think it's true here too. I think Jacksonville just makes one more play. Maybe there's a mistake that Tulsa makes. We don't know. You know, they've been going through the same couple of kickers. Maybe there's a kick return touchdown. We have no idea. Maybe there's a deuce that Dylan Barnes hits. It puts him over the top. But that's where we're at. Minus 166, 45-41. Jacksonville takes it. They clinch a playoff berth regardless of what happens between Green Bay and Mass. Let's move on to our 5th of 6 previews. All right, 5th preview, 5 out of 6. We're just chugging along here. We have an 8:05. We're in the later slate now. We have an 8:05, which means we're in the Western Conference. 8:05 p.m. Central Time. Kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network or streaming for free if you can find it. The Bay Area Panthers at 11-3. They have already clinched a playoff spot, taking on the 6-8 Tucson Sugar Skulls, clinging to dear life to hope for a playoff berth. This is an absolute must-win for the Sugar Skulls, and we will talk about it. Let's take a look at our season leaders. Josh Jones, 172 of 281, 1,823 passing yards, 35 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Jorge Reyna, 162 of 261, 1,800 yards even, so that's pretty cool. 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Those numbers are pretty similar, all things considered, between those two quarterbacks. Josh Jones, 164 carries, 720 yards, 18 touchdowns. Reyna, 90 carries, 366 rushing yards, and 7 rushing touchdowns. And Devontae Sapp Lynch is like right on his heels of who's the leading rusher for Tucson. Josh Tomas, 48 receptions, 551 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And Larry Harrington, 49 catches, 496 yards, 17 touchdowns. So it might be Harrington's next catch puts him over 500 receiving yards. Let's take a look at our injury report. Quite a few players to talk about here for Bay Area. Delvin Salter and Damon Williams are added to the short-term injured reserve. It's just a litany of guys, man. I mean, between these two teams, you could probably form your own indoor football league team, or maybe just an offense. I mean, it is just insane. For Tucson, season injured reserve list: Nymonta Decor, Ahmad Lyons, Trey Henry, and Spencer Tiers. It is just a mash unit. I mean, it's just broken bones, body parts, arms and slings, what have you. Just incredible for both these teams. We have an over-under of 88.5 for our betting odds and minus 8.5 for Bay Area, plus 8.5 for Tucson, minus 278 money line for Bay Area straight up, and plus 225 if you think Tucson can pull the upset at home. We are in the Tucson Convention Center at Tucson Arena, Tucson, Arizona. Again, how many times can I say Tucson? Our series head-to-head, 5-3 in favor of the Panthers. Their last meeting being Week 9, so about half the season ago or so, with Bay Area getting the victory 68-57. So let's go take a look at these 25-man rosters. The bet and prediction, we got one more preview to go. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the away side first, as we do. Josh Jones, Liam Thompson, your quarterbacks, Jones being the starter, Thompson your backup. Wide receivers, Josh Tomas, Tosin Oyekanmi, Tyrese Chambers, BK Smith Jr., Curtis Ravenel Jr., new signee, Trayvon Alexander, and Trey Goodman. We'll see who they pick and choose to be in that wide receiving core. Offensive line, Christian Coulter, Sidney Walker, Jamie Navarro, and Ethan Hagler. And on the defense, Tavon Grant, Jonathan Ross, EJ Anai, and William Martin. Linebackers include BJ Tafalele and Wes Bowers. And in the secondary, Trey Meadows, Joe Fouché, Frankie West Jr., Landry Mavungu, and Tyrese Wright, with your kicker being Axel Perez. Over to the Tucson side of things, Larry Harrington and Jorge Reyna are your quarterbacks. Harrington will move into that wide receiving spot. Devontae Sapp Lynch, Jameis Williams will be your running backs for your wide receivers, and we'll see if Jameis Williams drops into the secondary. We got to talk about that in a second. Wide receivers include Jerome Buckner, Drew Dixon, Alfonso Taylor, Braden Oakley, and Alex Coleman. From what I gathered on him when I Googled him, he was in the NAL. He has been around for a little bit. He's been in different leagues and stuff like that. I've never actually heard of him, but if he can ball, he can ball. So we'll see how he goes, if he even suits up. We'll just go from there. Offensive line, Krikor Kustanian, Cody Bullig, Isaiah Foote, Q Baker, and Tariq Stewart. To the defensive side of things, John McMullen off of short-term injured reserve, Rudy Ngoni, Rick DeBreu, and DeJaimin Brooks. Trinelius Tatum is your linebacker, and in the secondary, 3 new signees. Tariq Bracy and Brian Murray are your reoccurring guys, but former Tulsa Oiler Ryan Nixon, David Haney, he was with the San Diego Strike Force, he's been with Tucson, so he kind of knows, he's been in the Indoor Football League and has experience, and also go Mid-American Nazarene. And then Ramon Morris, another kind of, former Tulsa Oiler and stuff along those lines. So a little bit of Tulsa influence here with the Tucson Sugar Skulls. Your kicker is Kevin Macias. There's your 25-man roster for Bay Area, your 25-man roster for the Tucson Sugar Skulls. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction and head off to our final preview. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. I'm not going to mince it. -8.5. -8.5, Bay Area gets it done. They're going to clinch the 1 seed. They're going to ruin Tucson's playoff hopes, and that's that. I don't know how else to put it. The amount of players that they just put on season injured reserve, I know the offense is a little left unfazed, but that defense, yes, there's experience in that defensive secondary. Yes, there's, you're not going to miss much in a sense, but at the same time, learning new schemes where players go, do things like that, I think that's something that Josh Jones can kind of exploit. And I think that's going to lead Bay Area to either dumb this game down and pull away at the end, or it could be more of a high-scoring affair if Tucson's offense can replicate what they did against Northern Arizona. And we know Bay Area is always good for throwing some deep bombs to Tyrese Chambers or to Josh Tomas or Trayvon Alexander, what have you. But the offensive firepower for Bay Area, in my opinion, is just going to be a little too much for what they have turned over on that defensive side of the ball for Tucson. For Tucson to pull the upset here, do they need to play their A-plus game? I think so. I do. I can be convinced maybe a little bit less than that, but you really need Bay Area to suck, and I don't think they will. I don't. You are playing for your playoff lives. You absolutely need to win this game, and not only just win this game, but you need an adversary to lose as well, and I just think the back's up against the wall. They're desperate. They might just make some mistakes, and that's where Bay Area is going to capitalize on it. That's what I think. I think Tucson's going to get desperate. They're going to try and force something. Bay Area is going to jump on that. They're going to lie in wait for that counter. They're going to counter punch. That's how they pull away. My prediction for this one, 56-40. I think it's a over 2 possession game. Like I said, I think Bay Area and them keep it close. Nice little back and forth. But again, just you can't take a sack like Reyna did last week and have -19 or whatever it is. I don't think Drew Dixon's catching another 45 or 43-yard bomb in the end zone. Just a prayer like that, man. I don't see it happening again. And I think Bay Area is just going to capitalize. Like I said, I think that offense is too good. That defense is too good. That secondary can shut down Harrington, Drew Dixon. If you got Joe Fouché going up against Drew Dixon or Larry Harrington, that's going to be a fun battle. Or even if you have Tyrese Wright or anyone like that, I mean, it's going to look good. So anyway, that's where I have it with this one. I've got -8.5. I think Bay Area takes it. And then 56-40. I think the Panthers, they clinch that number 1 seed, which if they win this game, they clinch the number 1 seed, right? Yeah. So it's not an and, it's an or. So they win this one, they clinch the 1 seed. I think they do it. Tucson gets eliminated, and we shore up a couple of things when it comes to the West. But there we have it. Bay Area takes it, and we move on. Let's move on to our final preview. All right. Final preview of the week. We have an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network, or possibly streaming free near you. We have the 2-12 Northern Arizona Wranglers taking on the 8-6 Vegas Nighthawks. Vegas, they need the win to secure a playoff spot, or they need Tucson to lose. We've already talked about that preview. You'll see how that goes in the bet and prediction and all of that stuff. But Northern Arizona can play spoiler in this one, and if they win their final couple of games, they finish 4-12, but their final games are on the road. They have not won a game on the road this season, so we'll see how it tunes out. Season leaders Ramon Atkins for Northern Arizona, 141 of 235, 1,404 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 5 picks. Jerome Johnson, your leading passer, but not by much. 80 of 137, 957 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I think Jaden Delora is right there, and he's probably going to get the start again. Ramon Atkins, 46 carries, 227 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Antonio Wimbush, your leading rusher for Vegas, 121 carries, 515 yards, and 20 rushing touchdowns. The receiving leaders, Deshaun Stoudemire, sneaky good season. Now, some of those was bolstered last week, but very good season for Stoudemire. 65 catches, 804 yards, and 11 receiving touchdowns. Quentin Randolph right there as well, 53 catches, 789 yards, and 18 touchdowns. Both those wide receivers doing well, considering the quarterback changes between both of these teams. Injury report, only one thing to add here. Jonathan Johnson has been added for Vegas. Nothing new for Northern Arizona. Game odds, over-under of 86.5 and minus 15.5 for Vegas at home, so well over 2 touchdowns. Northern Arizona plus 15.5 on the road, plus 455 if you want to pick them for the away upset, and minus 625 if you want Vegas at least by 1 point, or you got to bet a lot of money if you want a nice return there. We're in the Lee's Family Forum in Henderson, Nevada, just right outside Las Vegas, with our series head-to-head being 5-4 in favor of Northern Arizona, but Vegas has won a couple of these games lately. Week 12, most recent, Vegas getting the victory by 20 points, 63-43. So they have a chance to even up the series with a victory, or Northern Arizona pulling the upset. They can pull away a little bit. Let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, bet and prediction. We'll get out of here. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face. Taking a look at the away side first. For Northern Arizona, Caleb Lowe and Ramon Atkins are your quarterbacks. Atkins will be the starter. Lowe will be your backup unless they pull a shifty move like they did a few weeks ago. Running backs, Daniel Ngata and Nolan Susel, which Susel looked pretty good last week, so probably get another chance to replicate that. Wide receivers, Deshaun Stoudemire, Arlen Bruce, Marlon Cook, Kobe Smith, and David Elder. On the offensive line, Junior Atuatasi, Chris Simon, DJ Stuckey, and Ryan Atkins. On the defensive side of the ball, Darius Johnson, Karan Bolden, Devin Thomas, Mason Newton, which we'll see if Darius Johnson, I think it was Darius Johnson who threw the punch to the groin. I don't think he's suspended for a game, but we'll see what happens. And if he plays in this one, then we know. But yeah, that's how we have it. Traveris Farrell, Kalen Hicks are your linebackers. And in the secondary, Bakembe Carney, Malik Saunier, Jaden Wickware, Devia Gabor, and Simeon Burns, with your kicker being Michael Hall. Over to Vegas. Jerome Johnson and Jaden Delora are your quarterbacks. I think Delora is going to start. Johnson will come in for relief around the goal line unless they are just not going to do that this week. It's weird. We'll see how it goes. Antonio Wimbush is your running back. And for the wide receivers, Mike Kerrigan, Quentin Randolph, CJ Wyndham, CJ Jefferson, and Phoenix Sproles. Offensive line includes Desmond Bland, Zach Fortier, Kevin Toot, and Moses Mallory. On the defensive line, Maurice Jackson, Claude Davis, Lorenzo Hernandez, and Mayan Ahanatu. Linebackers include Chizzy Umanakwe and Cameron Bright. And in the secondary, Bryce Hampton, Trevon Jones, James Caesar, Rome Weber, Darius Williams, and Elijah Blades, with your kicker being Ben Derby. And that is your 25-man roster for Northern Arizona, your 25-man roster for Vegas. Let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction. We get on out of here. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. I've taken it multiple times before, plus 15.5 for Northern Arizona. Let's go Cover Kings. That's a huge spread. That's a huge spread. And, I mean, even a 14-point loss, you still cover. So, I'm going to take it. They looked good. They won last week. I haven't seen anything to the contrary of injuries or anything like that that kind of sets me to going, I don't think Northern Arizona can cover. So, that's kind of where I have it. Can they pull the upset? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not privy to that, but there could be a possibility. We'll see. And I like that a lot more than an over-under or, minus 625 for Vegas. For Northern Arizona to pull this upset, though, they need to play well. They need to force some turnovers, and I think it comes down to that quarterback position for Vegas. I do. If it's just not going and they're trying to plug either quarterback in and it's just not working, maybe Northern Arizona has a chance to steal one on the road. They have not won a game on the road all season, and that might be what Vegas is pointing to here, but there's just an opportunity. That's all you kind of need. I don't necessarily see it, though. Vegas, I think, is going to win this one. And with that, they're going to clinch a playoff berth. This game and the Bay Area Tucson game are going to be going on at the same time. So you don't necessarily know if Tucson's already lost and you've already clinched, but you're going to put that to bed in this one. I think they just go out and they take care of business. Albeit, obviously, Northern Arizona covers the spread. My prediction for this one, 48-38. Again, if it's Delores starting at quarterback, which I fully believe he will, he has a lot of chemistry. Antonio Wimbush is going to run the ball. We know they're going to throw it to Quentin Randolph. He's always good for at least one deep bomb of like 30 yards or so. It's just that rainbow into the end zone. He's right there behind the defense. We know that's going to happen at some point, whether it's Johnson or Delora throwing it to him. We know it's going to happen. But I do think that the offense for Vegas is primed. Can the defense of Northern Arizona get after them? We'll see. We will see, but I think Vegas's offense might be a little too strong in this one. Now, Ramon Atkins and company, if Deshaun Stoudemire can replicate what he did last week, we can see a nice little back and forth here, and that's where I think they keep it close. Now, can that secondary of Vegas corral that receiving core of Northern Arizona, whether it is Marlon Cook, whether it is Arlen Bruce, whether it is Deshaun Stoudemire? We could have, like I said, a nice little back and forth here, but whichever secondary I think steps up and shuts down a little bit of the passing game. They don't have to shut it down fully, but again, make the other team make a mistake, counterpunch, do things like that. I also think if we can get pressure on Ramon Atkins, I think if that's the other turning point here. If Vegas can get pressure on Ramon Atkins, get him out of the pocket, he is the leading rusher. They don't really rush the ball. They do, but they don't. Like, they're all right rushing the ball, but it's kind of along the lines of San Diego or San Antonio, where they will rush it a couple of times, but a lot of it's on Ramon Atkins until Nolan Susel breaks off a 37-yard rusher. So I think if Vegas can put pressure, they might be able to pull away in this one, but still cover. 48-38 is our victory for Vegas, but Northern Arizona does cover the 15.5 point spread. Vegas clinches a playoff berth. We got the entire West taken care of, except for the final week of the season where we determine the final seedings. So with that, let's go take a look. Well, we're done. Let's go wrap everything up and get out of here. And that is it for our Week 18 preview. 6 games on the docket. And like I said in one of them, I'm not watching, but I will be watching Green Bay and Massachusetts after I get done doing this, uploading, editing, and all of that stuff. And then we'll figure out if some teams have already clinched playoff berths based on the results of that, or if it just gets even more muddy. But yeah, a lot of playoff implications, all teams involved just this week, last week, and next week. So buckle in, man. It's going to be very, very fun between tonight, whenever you're watching this, and what happens in Week 19. So with that, I'm going to take off here, guys. Go finish up that Friday game between Massachusetts and Green Bay. Get ready for this one. Hope you guys are ready for a full slate of action, as each games, or there's staggered starts and stuff like that. So you got some time to watch multiple games at once. But anyway, I'm going to take off here, guys. Love and appreciate every single one of you. If you feel so inclined, like, comment, share, subscribe. If not, oh well. Anyway, I'm going to take off here, guys. Love and appreciate you, like I just said. Until then, see ya.